The stars outside were calm. The spaceship's stellar breeze moved slowly through empty space. Inside the ship, everything was normal until it was. Ethan Cole, a human engineer, was sitting at his control panel, checking systems. He had short, brown hair, a tired face, and a mug of cold tea beside him. He didn't like surprises, but space always found a way to surprise him. Suddenly, a loud beep echoed from the control board. Warning. Temperature rising, the ship's AI set in. A calm voice. Ethan frowned. That can't be right, he muttered, tapping the screen. But the numbers were real. The inside temperature was climbing fast. He stood up quickly and grabbed a small toolkit. Let's see what broke this time. In the other part of the ship, Siraxa was meditating. She was not human. She was from the planet Varellin, a place with dangerous wildlife and strong warriors. She wore heavy bioarmor, shining dark green with glowing lines. Her helmet covered her face. Only her eyes, sharp and golden, were visible through the visor. Siraxa was silent and serious. She didn't talk much. She believed in action, not small words. But now she felt something wrong. The air was getting hot. Her armor had its own cooling system. But it worked best in normal conditions. As the heat inside the ship increased, so did the pressure inside her suit. She gritted her teeth. Virulonian warriors were trained to endure pain. But this was not a fight. It was just heat. She walked to the control room and found Ethan trying. To open a panel on the wall, what is happening? She asked, her voice slightly robotic through the helmet. The AC's gone. Artificial climate system failed, Ethan replied, wiping sweat from his forehead. Something's overheating the core. Maybe a solar flare hit us. Siraxa didn't respond. She looked around. The walls were already fogging up slightly. Ethan noticed her armor was making small hissing sounds. That wasn't good. Hey, he said, standing up. Your suit's built for battle, not for a sauna. You might want to cool off. We'll endure, she said firmly. Ethan sighed. Look, I get it. You're tough. But if you overheat you'll pass out. That armor traps heat. Siraxa paused. Her heart was pounding now. Her body temperature was rising quickly. Still, Varellonians didn't remove their armor around outsiders. It was a part of their honor. But this human wasn't a threat. And if she fainted, she'd be useless anyway. I will consider your advice, she said at last. Ethan didn't expect her to actually do it. But a few minutes later, she stepped into the cooler cargo bay, removed her helmet, and slowly started unlocking the armor's chest plate. Ethan turned to give her privacy, but curiosity got the better of him. He glanced back and froze. Siraxa, without her armor, looked nothing like he imagined. Her skin was smooth and pale silver, with a soft shimmer like moonlight on water. Her eyes were the same golden color, but now clearer, deeper. Her hair was long, black, and braided tightly. She noticed his gaze. Is something wrong with my appearance? She asked, tilting her head. No, Ethan replied quickly. You just look different without the armor. Does that disturb you? No, it's just ... surprising. Siraxa blinked. I understand. Varellians rarely show their true form outside the homeworld. It is a gesture of trust. Ethan nodded slowly. Then, thanks for trusting me. She gave a small nod and sat down on a crate. Body was still hot, but now the air could touch her skin. She felt lighter, freer. Ethan handed her a cold pack from the medical kit. Hold this on your neck, he said. She obeyed without question. The cold touch made her sigh softly. You're good at fixing things, she said after a pause. Ethan smiled. That's why I'm here. There was a moment of silence. Outside, the stars continued to glow quietly. Inside, two very different beings shared a strange, warm moment in the middle of a hot emergency. So, Ethan said, trying to lighten the mood, you ever deal with heat like this back on your planet? Yes, Siraxa replied, but we usually fight in it, not sit inside a melting ship. He chuckled. Lucky us, then. She looked at him curiously. You humans laugh during problems. Ethan shrugged. It helps. Sometimes laughter is the only tool left when the AC breaks. Siraxa looked thoughtful. Strange species. Thanks, Ethan replied with a smirk. The cargo bay was cooler than the rest of the ship, but not by much. The air felt thick and heavy, and sweat dripped from Ethan's forehead. He had opened a wall panel, trying to reach the AC unit's backup system. But the wires were tangled, and the control fuse was burnt. Great, he muttered. This will take hours. Behind him, Siraxa sat quietly on a metal crate. Her helmet and chest armor were already off. Now, she was slowly removing the arm and leg plates. The locks clicked softly as each piece came loose. Movement was precise, controlled. She didn't seem embarrassed, just focused. Ethan glanced at her again. Without the armor, Siraxa looked less like a warrior and more like a person. Her silver skin reflected the emergency lights. Muscles moved smoothly under her shimmering skin. Her long black braid was now undone and fell over one shoulder. You okay? Ethan asked, standing up and wiping his hands. I am still hot. But cooling slowly, she replied calmly. You're handling it better than I would, he said. If I wore full armor in this heat, I'd probably pass out in 10 minutes. Siraxa looked at him with mild amusement. Virlonians are trained in extreme environments. Still, this heat is ... unpleasant. Ethan chuckled. Welcome to life on a broken ship. He handed her a fresh cold patch from the medkit. She took it without a word and placed it on her neck again. They sat in silence for a while, the ship humming softly around them. Then Siraxa asked, Why is this ship so fragile? Ethan blinked. It's not fragile. It's old, and not built for solar flares. She raised an eyebrow. You knew the star region was active. Why not upgrade protection systems? He shrugged. Command says we're low priority. Explorers like us don't get the best tech. Siraxa didn't respond at first. Psst. Then, she nodded. On Virlon, we do not send warriors into battle without full protection. Earth and Virlon sound really different, Ethan said. They are, Siraxa replied. But I am learning. Ethan smiled. And what have you learned about humans so far? She thought for a moment. You speak too much, Break easily. And laugh in danger. He laughed. Wow. You make us sound like glass toys. She tilted her head. But you also repair, adapt, and find peace in small things. That is ... useful. Ethan gave her a thumbs up. Thanks, I think. The temperature was still high, but the moment felt lighter. Back home, Ethan said, sitting on the floor. When it gets hot, we eat ice cream. Or go to the beach. Beach, Siraxa asked. What is that? He raised an eyebrow. You've never heard of a beach, no? It's a place where land meets water. Waves crash on the shore and people swim or just lie in the sun. Siraxa looked confused. Why lie in the sun? Isn't it too hot? Ethan grinned. That's the fun part. Humans call it sunbathing. She shook her head. Strange species. Ch. They both laughed softly. Suddenly, a loud click echoed from the nearby wall. Ethan stood up quickly. What was that? Siraxa asked. Now alert? Something shifted in the ventilation, he said, grabbing his scanner. I hope it's not another broken part. He moved toward the sound, waving the scanner near the vents. The screen blinked. That's odd? He muttered. What is it? Siraxa stood up, now without any armor on, except light underlayers. This says there's movement. Something small. Could be a rat. But rats don't live in space. Siraxa narrowed her eyes. A drone? Ethan frowned. Maybe. I thought we were alone out here. Perhaps we are not. They both went silent, listening. A soft, clinking sound came again, like small claws tapping metal. Ethan looked at Siraxa. I don't like this. Should I put on my armor again? She asked. He looked at her light suit. Might be a good idea, just not the full suit, unless you want to roast. She nodded and walked over to the crate where she placed her gear. As she reattached the chest piece, Ethan kept his eyes on the vent. The scanner blinked again. It's time faster. It's moving toward the AC core, he said. If it damages, that will lose life support completely. Siraxa, now half-armored, stepped beside him. Then we must stop it. Ethan sighed. Just another day in deep space, huh? She gave him a sideways look. You humans enjoy danger far too much. Smirked. We get bored easily. As they walked down the corridor toward the ventilation shaft, Siraxa asked, Is this what exploration is always like for you? Not always, Ethan said. Sometimes it's worse. She smiled, a small, rare smile. The emergency lights flickered above them. Somewhere in the walls, something skittered again. Siraxa touched her half-armored wrist. Next time, bring better tools, Ethan replied. Next time, bring a fan.
How?
The ship's hallway was quiet except for the soft hum of power lines and the slow clicking of Siraxa's armored boots. Only part of her armor was back on, just enough to protect, not to overheat. Her helmet remained off, and her silver skin glowed under the dim red emergency lights. Ethan held the scanner tightly in his hands, watching the green blinking dot on the screen. It's still moving, he said. Same direction. Crawling. Through the wall, toward the AC core. Siraxa narrowed her golden eyes. A parasite drone. Maybe a scout device. You think someone sent it? It is possible, she answered. In this part of space, many scavenger groups use small machines to break into ships and steal data. Ethan sighed. Great, and I thought the heat was our biggest problem. As they walked toward the maintenance access room, Ethan tried to distract himself with small talk. So, you ever deal with anything like this before? Siraxa nodded. Yes, on Varellin, we defend against many enemies. Machines, monsters, invaders. But this ship is small. I feel ... trapped. He chuckled. I get that. Earth has wide skies, open oceans. I miss that sometimes. Tell me more of Earth, Siraxa said. It sounds free. Ethan smiled. It's noisy, busy, but yeah, it can feel free. We have forests, mountains, rain, and cities that shine at night. Have you ever seen rain? Siraxa shook her head. My world is dry. We have sandstorms and glass plains. No waterfalls from the sky, Ethan whistled. You've never jumped in a puddle after a storm? I do not know what a puddle is. He laughed. Oh, Siraxa, you're missing out. Siraxa raised an eyebrow. Do humans jump in water for fun? Absolutely. You are a strange species, she said again, but this time her voice was softer, almost amused. They reached the maintenance door. Ethan entered the code, and the door slid open with a hiss. Inside, it was dark and warm, but the air moved. Slightly coming from the main vent system, Ethan pointed at the large central pipe. If it's heading for the AC unit, it'll pass through there. Siraxa stepped forward. Let me lead. I can move faster. Ethan handed her a small flashlight. Be careful. If it's hostile, I will stop it. She crouched and entered the vent through the lower panel. Ethan followed behind, crawling slowly. The vent was tight, barely enough room for them to move. The sound of their movement echoed through the metal tunnel. Suddenly a clicking noise came from up ahead. Fast, sharp. Siraxa paused. It is close. Ethan looked at the scanner. 10 meters ahead. Then they saw it a small metallic creature, spider-like, with 6 legs and a glowing red sensor in the middle of its body. It was clinging to the vent wall, tapping a hole, with one tiny drill. There it is, Ethan whispered. Siraxa didn't wait. She moved quickly, crawling forward, then leaping out of the tunnel toward the drone. The drone hissed and turned, firing a spark of electricity. Siraxa twisted in midair, blocking the shot with her armored arm. She grabbed the drone and slammed it against the metal wall. The drone sparked, buzzed, and tried to crawl away, but she crushed it with her fist. The sound stopped. Only silence remained. Ethan crawled out behind her. Wow, that was fast. She stood, holding the broken drone. Not very strong, but smart. It knew where to hit. Ethan took the drone and studied it. Looks like it was trying to mess with our main cooling core. If it had succeeded, we'd lose the last working part of the AC, and maybe more like oxygen filters. Siraxa looked at him. So someone wanted this ship disabled? Ethan said, but why? We don't carry weapons or riches. Information, she said. Explorers often carry maps, routes, and sensor data that can be sold to pirate groups or miners. Ethan nodded. Makes sense. We'll need to scan the rest of the ship. There might be more. Before they could move, the floor beneath them shook slightly. A soft sound came through the wall, a deep hum. Ethan's eyes widened. That wasn't us. Siraxa turned to Ward. The direction of the sound. Someone else may have connected remotely. Ethan tapped his com. Computer, run a full internal scan. Search for unknown signals. A pause. Then the AI replied. Unidentified signal detected. Origin. Cargo. Bay. Unauthorized frequency. Siraxa narrowed her eyes. It came from where we were sitting earlier. Ethan ran toward the hatch. Come on. They raced through the hallway. Lights flickered again as the temperature rose a little higher. Something or someone was trying to stop the AC from restarting. They reached the cargo bay. Ethan quickly looked around. Then he saw it. A small black device, the size of a fist, was hidden behind one of the crates. A blinking red light glowed on top. Siraxa picked it up carefully. Another drone tool. It was relaying data out of the ship. Ethan cursed under his breath. We were talking here. Dave recorded us. Siraxa crushed the device in her hand. Don't worry, she said. They won't get more. Ethan took a deep breath. Okay, one step at a time. We stop the signals, fix the cooling system, and keep this ship flying. Siraxa looked at him seriously. And next time we wear light armor, he laughed. Deal. As they stood together, the emergency lights blinked back to steady orange. The heat was still there, but for now, they were safe. The air inside Stellar Breeze was still heavy. The emergency lights stayed orange. The ship gave off a quiet hum like it was holding its breath. Ethan and Siraxa stood in the cargo bay, looking at the crushed spy device in her hand. Small wires stuck out from the cracked surface, and the blinking red light was now dead. We've destroyed the transmitter, Siraxa said calmly, but we still don't know how it got inside. Ethan nodded. Or if there are more like it. The AC system was still down, and without it, the ship systems were slowly getting weaker. Power would last a while, but air circulation and cooling were dropping hour by hour. I need to reach the main cooling core, Ethan said, turning toward the engine deck. If this drone messed with it, I'll have to reset it manually. I will come with you, Siraxa said. Ethan looked at her. You sure? The core chamber will be even hotter. I will manage, she replied. Better to move in the heat than wait in silence. They both walked down the narrow passage that led to the ship's lower deck. The walls were slightly warm now, and soft fog formed near the corners. Ethan wiped his forehead with a cloth and sighed. This is starting to feel like a floating oven. Then let us fix the fire, Siraxa said with a quiet tone of determination. The cooling core room was located at the back of the ship. It was round, dark, and filled with large tubes and blinking panels. In the center stood the main cooling tower, a tall silver pillar that hissed softly when working correctly. Now it was silent. Ethan opened the control panel. The screen flickered with red warnings. Just like I thought, he said. Left a loop in the system. It's stopping the cooling cycle from restarting. Can you fix it? Siraxa asked. I think so, he said, pulling a cable from his belt. But I'll have to bypass the failsafe. If I mess up, the system could shut down completely. Siraxa stepped closer. I think I will stay ready. Ethan nodded and got to work. His fingers moved quickly across wires and circuits. Small sparks flew as he connected tools and scanned the control board as he worked. Siraxa looked around. The room felt like it was holding heat like a cave. Her silver skin shimmered with sweat. She had removed most of her armor again, keeping only the waist, guard, and one bracer. She stood silently near the door, listening. A strange clicking sound came again, like small legs tapping metal. Her eyes narrowed. Ethan, she said softly. He didn't look up. 1 second. No, she said firmly. Something's here. Paused and turned. Another drone, possibly? She stepped toward the corner of the room where the sound was coming from. Slowly she bent down and peeked behind a control panel. There it was, a second small device, rounder than the last. One, shaped like a silver beetle. It had sharp legs and a blinking blue eye. As she reached for it, the drone jumped. It landed on the wall, then scurried toward the upper pipes. "Ethan, get down." The drone fired a small electric charge. Ethan ducked as a bolt hit the panel, sending sparks flying. Siraxa moved fast. She jumped up and grabbed a pipe, pulling herself toward the drone. Her movements were swift and graceful, like a trained hunter. The drone turned and fired again. This time, Siraxa blocked the shot with her armored bracer. She reached the drone and slammed it against the pipe. Sparks burst out, and the drone stopped moving. "Got it," she said, breathing hard. Ethan stood up, brushing dust off his clothes. "You are seriously good at that." Siraxa climbed down and handed him the damaged device. "Better remove all of them before fixing anything." He nodded, agreed. He scanned the room one more time. No more drones, no signals, no motion. "Okay," he said, plugging his tool back into the panel. "Let's finish this." It took 30 more minutes, but finally the system responded. The cooling tower gave a soft beep, followed by a loud hiss. Cold mist shot out from the base. Ethan smiled as it's back online. Slowly, the air around them began to cool. Lights turned from orange to white. Small fans started spinning. In the walls, Siraxa looked around calmly. "You've done well, engineer?" Ethan wiped his hands. "Couldn't have done it without your quick thinking." They exited the engine room, feeling the difference right away. The hallway was cooler now, and the fog in the corners had faded. Siraxa walked quietly beside him. She had put on her chest armor again, but left the helmet off. "You know, Ethan," said, "I think this is the most we've talked since the mission started." "Perhaps," Siraxa replied. "Your species likes conversation. Mine values silence." "Well," Ethan said with a grin, "this time I think we both needed words." She looked at him, her golden eyes thoughtful. "Trust begins with shared danger." "I like that," he said. "Sounds wise." They reached the control room again. The ship's AI greeted them. Cooling system restored. Internal temperature stabilizing. Ethan leaned back in his chair. "That's better." Siraxa stood near the window, watching the stars. "I never thought I would remove my armor on a human ship," she said softly. He looked at her. "Are you okay with it? I was trained to hide weakness. But perhaps comfort is not weakness." Ethan smiled. "Sometimes being real takes more strength." There was a moment of silence. Then the AI spoke again. "Incoming transmission detected. Unknown origin." Ethan sat up straight. "Another problem?" Siraxa turned toward him. "Let's find out." They both stepped toward the screen as the transmission opened. A blurry message came through static and shadows. But one thing was clear. They were not alone. The control screen glowed softly in front of Ethan and Siraxa. Static danced across the display, and a distorted voice tried to come through. "Power. Signal. Searching. Core." Ethan leaned closer. "I can't make out the message clearly. It's broken." Siraxa stared at the screen. "Someone or something is trying to reach us." Ethan nodded. "And I don't think it's friendly." He tapped a few buttons to trace the source. The screen blinked and showed the location. "Inside the ship cargo deck, level 2? That's impossible. No one else should be here." Siraxa stepped back and reached for her remaining armor. She locked her shoulder and, chest plates in place, tightened her bracer, checked her pulse blade. "I will go first," she said. Ethan grabbed his toolkit and a small hand scanner. "And I'll follow. Just don't leave me behind, okay?" The hallway to deck level 2 was narrow and quiet. The temperature had returned to normal, but the ship still felt tense, like it was holding a secret in its metal bones. Siraxa walked. In front, every step, silent and sharp. Her golden eyes scanned every shadow. Ethan walked behind her, careful not to make noise. Suddenly, Siraxa raised her hand. "Wait." Ethan froze. She pointed ahead. A small black hole had been burned into. The wall panel fresh, still warm. "Something cut into the system from the inside," Ethan whispered. Siraxa nodded. The enemy is still here. They turned the corner slowly and saw it. A larger drone, nearly the size of a suitcase, was crouched in the middle of the floor. It had a round body, multiple thin legs, and a glowing red eye. Its metallic surface reflected the hallway lights. Small sparks ran across its legs as it worked on a panel. Siraxa took a deep breath. Before Ethan could say anything, she charged forward. The drone spun around, spotted her, and fired a pulse beam. Siraxa rolled to the side and launched her pulse blade. It hit the drone's leg, slicing it off. The drone shrieked with static and jumped onto the wall, moving fast like a spider. Siraxa leaped after it, slamming into the wall with her shoulder and knocking it down. The drone hit the floor and skittered back, now glowing blue. It was preparing another shot. Siraxa, move, Ethan yelled. The drone fired, but she dodged at the last second, then slammed her armored foot onto the machine's main body. The drone's light flickered, then died. Silence returned. Ethan ran over. That was amazing. Siraxa stood still. For a moment, breathing hard, it was faster than the others. Ethan crouched beside the drone's broken parts. This one was different, more advanced. It had tools like cutting arms. Siraxa looked around. It was opening ship systems. Maybe trying to reach our main data core. Ethan nodded. That's where we keep all star maps and exploration records. Then it wanted information. They both stood up and looked around. The hallway was still, but something had changed. Ethan checked the hand scanner. Wait, there's another signal, a smaller one, moving fast. Where? He turned the scanner, coming this way. Before he could react, a small flying device zipped out of the ceiling panel and shot past them. It moved like a blur. Going to the bridge? Ethan shouted. Siraxa took off running, her boots pounding against the floor. Ethan followed. Heart racing, they reached the bridge just as the flying drone reached the control screen. It attached itself like a magnet, flashing green dot. Ethan rushed to pull it off, but it zapped him with a small electric pulse. He jumped back. Siraxa didn't hesitate. She pulled a backup blade from her boot and threw it. The drone sparked, shook, and fell off the panel. Smoke rose from the control screen. Ethan ran over and checked the system. The controls are safe, but it tried to download something. I think it failed. Your throw stopped it in time. Siraxa retrieved her blade and cleaned it calmly. That was the last one? Ethan scanned the ship again. The screen slowly cleared. No. More signals? He said with relief. I think we got them all. They both sat down, breathing deeply. The lights returned to normal brightness. The hum of the ship felt peaceful again. Ethan leaned back. I think we made a pretty good team. Siraxa looked at him. You are slower than me. Louder. Thanks, he said with a tired grin. But she added, you think fast. You adapt. That is rare. Ethan smiled. Coming from you, that means a lot. Siraxa sat beside him. Her silver skin was still shining with effort, but her posture was relaxed. I was taught that removing armor is a sign of weakness, she said softly. But now I believe it can be something else. Ethan looked at her like, what? Trust, she said simply. Their eyes met for a moment. There was no need for more words. Outside, stars passed by slowly. Inside, strange friendship had started to grow stronger, one forged in heat, danger, and courage, and the journey wasn't over yet. The ship was quiet again. No more buzzing drones, no sparks, no alarms. Only the soft hum of the cooling system, now fully restored and working well. Ethan stood in front of the control panel, watching the temperature levels return to normal. Cool. Air flowed gently through the vents. It felt like a calm breeze after a heavy storm. Siraxa sat nearby on a bench, half-armored, her silver skin lightly glistening. Her helmet rested on her lap. She had been silent for several minutes, but not out of fear or tension, just thoughtful. Ethan glanced at her. Feels nice, huh? Siraxa nodded slowly. The cool air is welcome. But the silence feels ... strange. You mean peaceful? Ethan asked. She tilted her head. Perhaps, but after heat, drones, and battle, ... silence feels like an empty room. Ethan chuckled. It's okay to rest, you know? Saraxa looked at him. Warriors rest only after the mission. Mission accomplished, he said, sitting beside her. Cooling fixed. Ship safe. Drones destroyed. She looked away for a moment, her golden eyes fixed on the stars outside the window. I did not expect this mission to change me, she said quietly. Ethan turned toward her. Change you? How? She thought for a moment before answering. Verlonian warriors do not remove armor, except in sacred places. We do not show skin. We do not talk during missions. We do not ... trust easily. He smiled gently, and yet, here you are. No helmet, no full armor, talking to a noisy human. Her lips curved slightly, a small smile. Rare but real. Do not regret it, she said. Ethan looked at the small piece of armor she still wore on her wrist. You know, it suits you being a little less armored. She raised an eyebrow. I mean physically or emotionally? He laughed. Both. She gave a soft, amused breath through her nose. Your kind really does enjoy words. We're curious creatures, Ethan replied. We're always trying to understand people, even people from other stars. There was silence for a while, as both looked out the window. The stars sparkled like diamonds across black velvet. The ship gently drifted forward, steady and calm. Saraxa, Ethan said softly, you saved my life back there. More than once. ... I did what was needed, she replied. I know, he said, but it wasn't just duty. I could see it. You cared. She turned toward him, quiet for a moment. On Virlin, we protect those we respect. I respect you, Ethan. Ethan's heart beat a little faster. Not because he was afraid, but because her words carried weight. Saraxa didn't say things unless they were true. And I respect you too, he replied. You're strong, smart, loyal, and honestly, the bravest person I've met in a long time. She didn't respond right away. Then, slowly, she stood up and walked toward the window. I do not understand all human feelings, she said, softly. But I know that today I feel ... lighter. Like my armor isn't the only thing I removed. Ethan stood beside her. Maybe that's a good thing, she nodded. Then the ship's AI broke the moment. Incoming message from Central Command display. Ethan blinked. Oh, right. We haven't checked in for hours. He tapped the screen. Face appeared. A senior officer from Earth Command. Stellar Breeze. We detected strange signals from your ship. Are you both safe? Ethan nodded. Yes, sir. We had a drone breach. Unknown origin. Tried to access our cooling system and data core. The officer frowned. Any idea where it came from? Ethan shook his head. No markings. But it was definitely sent with a purpose. Saraxa stepped into view. The drones are destroyed. Your maps and systems are safe. The officer nodded slowly. Good work. We're redirecting your ship to a rest station nearby. You both need downtime after this. Understood, Ethan. Said the screen blinked off. Saraxa looked at him. Rest station? He smiled. It's like a small spaceport. You can repair the ship properly and maybe get ice cream. She looked confused.
Ice cream?
It's a sweet frozen food. You'll like it. She gave a light nod. I will try it. They both stood silently again, the hum of the ship now comforting. Later that day, Ethan was sitting at the dining table in the small mess room. The lights were soft. A hot cup of tea sat beside him. Saraxa entered, now wearing a simple light-duty uniform instead of armor. He looked up and blinked. Wow. She tilted her head. Is something wrong? No, he said quickly. It's just... I've never seen you without any armor at all. Saraxa looked down at herself. Is this inappropriate for your customs? He shook his head. No, it's just ... You look different, .com. Like a new version of you. She sat down. This ship taught me something. Being strong is good, but being open can be stronger. Ethan raised his cup. I'll drink to that. She looked at his cup. Is that another Earth thing? He laughed. Yes, it means I agree. She reached out and tapped his cup lightly with her fingers. Then I agree too. They smiled. Outside, the stars watched quietly inside. Two souls from different worlds had found something rare in the cold, silent deep, something warm, something new. The stellar breeze quietly approached the rest station orbiting a small, peaceful moon. The station. Lights blinked softly, welcoming tired travelers. After the chaos, heat, and battle, everything finally felt calm. Ethan guided the ship gently into docking position. His fingers moved smoothly across the console. The engines responded with ease, no errors, no alarms, no heat warnings. Beside him, Siraxa stood watching. She no longer wore her armor. Instead, she wore a plain, dark blue uniform provided by the station. It fit her well, giving her the look of a starfarer, not just a warrior. "We're docked," Ethan said with a small smile. "We made it," Siraxa nodded. The journey was not smooth, but ... it was worth it. They gathered their tools and stepped off the ship into the rest station. The air was fresh and cool. The soft hum of machines, the quiet voices of passing travelers, and the smell of clean metal greeted them. It was a small station, mostly quiet. There were a few engineers, some traders, and a couple of security officers. But for Ethan and Siraxa, it felt like another world compared to the heat and danger they had faced earlier. They found a place to sit, a small, open lounge near a large window that looked out into space. The stars stretched across the sky like endless glittering dust. A nearby gas giant glowed softly in the distance. Ethan held two cups, one with his usual tea, and one with something new. "Ice cream," he said, handing the cold dessert to Siraxa. She held the cup and looked at it with curiosity. "It is ... soft and cold." "That's the good part," he said, smiling. She took a small spoon and tasted it. Her eyes widened. "This is ... strange but sweet, very cold." He laughed. "Welcome to Earth comfort food." They sat together, watching the stars. After a while, Siraxa spoke. "I've been thinking." "About what?" "My time on this ship, this mission." "You," Ethan blinked. "Me, yes," she said, setting her spoon down. "When I first came here, I saw you as fragile, talkative, untrained." "Wow, thanks," he joked. But she continued seriously, "You were more than that. You were clever, calm under pressure, kind. You showed me something different from war and silence." Ethan looked at her, his expression soft. "You showed me strength not just in battle, but in patience, in silence, in honor." There was a long pause. The room felt still but warm. On Virulin, Siraxa said, "Our leaders do not believe in long partnerships with humans. They say we are too different." Ethan nodded slowly. "I've heard that too, about Virulonians. That they keep their distance." She looked at him, but maybe that thinking is old. Maybe the galaxy's changing. He met her eyes. "I'd like that. Change can be good." She stood and walked toward the window, her silver hair catching the light. "I don't know where I'll go next," she said. "I was supposed to return home after this." Ethan stood beside her. "But you're not sure anymore." She didn't answer right away, and she said, "No, I'm not." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small metal pin, his ship's spare crew badge. "I've got an idea," he said. "Why not stay? Be part of the stellar breeze." She turned to him, surprised. "Really?" "Sure," he said. "We could use someone with your skills. I'd like having someone around who can catch flying drones before they zap me again." A small smile crossed her lips. "You would trust me to stay?" "I already do." Looked at the badge, then at him. Her golden eyes seemed softer now, more open. "I never expected this," she said. "Friendship and something ... more." "Neither did I," Ethan replied. "But space is full of surprises." She took the badge gently and pinned it to her uniform. "Then I accept," she said. They stood side by side, watching the endless stars beyond the glass. Two travelers from different worlds. Two souls who found something rare in the quiet space between battles, understanding, respect, and perhaps the beginning of something deeper. After some time, Siraxa spoke again. Do we leave?" Ethan grinned. As soon as the tech crew finishes repairs, maybe tomorrow. She nodded. Good. I look forward to the next mission. Me too, he said. She looked at him and added, next time, I choose the music. Laughed. Deal. But only if you try chocolate ice cream next. I will consider it, she replied with a straight face. And with that, they turned away from the window and walked together into the future. No longer just soldier and engineer, no longer strangers, now ... Something more. The end.